Okay, so how many ways do we have to execute a select statement in Spring Boot application? So if we go by the law of Mansoor, how many ways do we have? Yes, three ways. So first is by your JPA repository inbuilt methods, right? So you can execute the DDL or DML queries, your insert, update, delete, or select queries, and use the GPA repository method, right? Which we have been using all this while in our application. So from the service, whatever task I wanted to do, I just call the repository. So I call the repository save method, repository find by ID method, find all method, find by ID method, okay, find by sname method, delete by ID method. Okay, so now this is a white page. This is the actual website of Spring Boot. Okay, so here it is telling me that what all features it has. So if you want to find by last name and first name, so you can, so if last name and first name are two attributes of a class, so if I have a class, okay, and let's say class student, and it has two private string, first name, private string, last name. Okay, what all does it have? Okay, let's say it also has age, private string age, assuming. So now when I insert record of this student in the database, I will have a record like this: first name, last name, and age. Okay, so Alice, Peter, age 23. Okay, Alicia Khan, age 21. XYZ you can have, no? XYZ whatever. Now if I want to search whether there is a record by the name Alice Peter in our database, so what I will do is I will go to the repository and make a method by what name, find by. Okay, so I will, and this will give you one student, right? There should be only one student by this Alice Peter, or it can have a list of students also, but assuming it has only one single student, so I'll make a own function public student. Now find by is fixed, okay, small f capital B, and I want to find by what, first name, so I put that over here and make the f capital. Then I use the AND operator, AND, and I want to find by what, last, like this. You can use the functions, and then to this you have to pass the first name and the last name. So you have to pass string f name and string l. Okay, so now this function is ready in the repository. Now from the service you can just call this method, emp repo dot find name by last name, and then you can pass the actual values over here. Okay, or from, if you want from the controller, you can accept the values and pass it to the service method. So we can say emp service dot find by, okay, this can be any method, find by full name, and then we can pass those records over here, Alice and Peter, okay, and that will come over here as string. So this service will have this method, right, and it will take these two arguments, and then from the service I will call the repository method passing fname and n. So like this, it has whole library of built-in methods. So this I use this find by last name and first name. You can also use or. Okay, so I want to search an employee by his name. The name can be in either of the columns. Okay, so search for that name either in the first name or in the second name. So if I have, let's say, someone called as Pooja Sachin, and I want to see whether there is a record by the name Sachin in my database. So Sachin can either come in first name or last name. Okay, so if this, and then if there is one Sachin over here, so now Sachin can be in any of the column, first name or last name. So for that I have a method called as, so in my repo I will say first name or last name, and I will pass one variable over here. So these all methods you can implement in your repository, but they should be matching with the property names over here. So if my property name over here is f name and property name over here is l name, so I will make changes accordingly. So I will make f name and l name. Here also I will make f name and l name. Okay, so this should match with this. Okay, age. So if you want to uh, filter out only those employees who are age is less than, okay, so you have this method less than. So find by age, find by whatever property, and then less than. If you want less than equal to, then you can have find by age less than or equal to, greater than or equal to. If you are playing with dates, filter out all the bills after this date, filter out all the bills before this date. Okay, starting with, if you want to filter out the string starting with a particular name, so if you want to filter out, okay, all, let's say, filter out all the girls, so starting with ms, so filter out all those strings starting with ms or starting with mr, containing, filter out all those strings containing this keyword. So all this stuff can be taken care of from your JPA repository site. Now see, let's say if it has given some examples below. So these are your JPA query creations. So see, what we can do is, let's take a demo of this. Let's take a demo of this in our application. So if I have a student application and I have What I have only student name. Okay, so let's take S name we have done, right? Find by S name. I want to do something else also. Okay, let's do a student name having this email. Okay, so what do I do? I go to the repository first. Okay, and then I create a method. So with that name and with that email, I'll have only a single student, right? So I'll not take list of student. So student, okay. What is the prefix? Find by. And now I am finding by which two columns? So I come here, I am finding by S name and email. So capital S name, capital E email. Find by capital S, capital A, capital email. So these two things I will pass as an argument. String S name, comma, string email. Okay. Now the function is ready. So now from the controller, okay, the controller now let's do a get mapping and say public. So give me a student, right? And find by. Okay, this function can be anything. Only the repository function has to be, you have to maintain the proper casing. Okay, in the repository function only you have to maintain all this proper. So you cannot do any s over here and you cannot do a e over here small. This will not work. That is only for the repository. Rest at the controller service layer, whatever you function you want to make, you can make. Okay, so find by, let's say new, find by way 1. This is the first way. And what will I pass to this function? I will call this, I will pass the string f name. Okay, this also you can give whatever you want to, string s1 and string s2. So s1 is my first name and s1 is my s name and s2 is my email. Okay, so map it with something. We are doing a fetch, so we'll do a get mapping and we will say way1 whatever database, right? So we'll do db way1. And now just call the student service, and in that also we will make a method by the name, whatever method you want to make. And pass these two strings to that. Pass s1 and s2 and it will return you a student object which will return to the controller. This method is not there, it is telling. So create one, and then from here what you can do is call your repository method. So we have the student repo over here. So what we can say is student repo dot, what was the method name? Find by, we had created it, right? What is the method name? Find by sname and email. Find by method is over here. Find by sname and email. And what are my sname and email? s1 comma s2. So if it exists, it will return. Okay. So okay, all good. Yeah. So now let's test this. Take the existing get API so that we can just take the URL, create a new API, get API, and we have named
तो
10.
स्क्रीन विजिबल नहीं है।
विजिबल नहीं है, ये दिख रहा है विजिबल। वे वन नाम दिया ना अपन ने इसको, DB वे वन, DB वे वन। ठीक है, गेट API है, fetch data by first method, by JPA method, that is first method, that is JPA repository methods. Okay, you save it, but we haven't run the application yet, right? So for this changes to take effect, you need to run your application. First we need to stop the existing running because the port will conflict, right? So better you stop all your application and then you do a rerun. So once the run is successful, then we need to check the database also, right? We need to check the database. So now in my database I have these records. Okay, so let me see if I have a record by the name Gomes at gomesgmail.com. So let me fetch this record. Okay, so let me pass this as a, okay, so we have, but we aren't accepting this as a query param, no? We have, how are we reading them? So this should go as query params, right? Yes or no? This should go as your query params, and we haven't done that. We haven't done that. So how will we pass this data from there? So here what you have to tell, whatever is coming. Okay, so first name you can call it as your fn, that I will call as S1 for my Java, and second you can say, you can call it as em, that we will call as a string. Yeah, so we didn't do this, right? And how will we pass the query params? So it is taking two query params, that is fn and em. So I'm just showing what the difference is like. In the controller you can have any variable name, only the difference is that the repository should have matching attribute names, and if you follow the same pattern throughout, that would be more professional. So fn and em, fn and em. You all see my screen, right? Okay, so in the params I go fn, and what do I put in fn, and what do I put in em? Now let's check if this person exists, and if it exists it will return that object to us. That is what we are doing. If it exists, it should return that object to us. Here you go. How was that? Okay, so this was the first way. So you can do any logic over here. Okay, if you want to show the employees who are more than let's say 25 years, so Gomes and En should come. Okay, so how will we query that? So for that go to your document, and you have a method called as greater than. Okay, so find by whatever attribute you want to do the query on, greater than. Okay, so I come back over here. So how will we do that? Go to the controller, first go to the repository, okay, and make a method. So if will there be only one employee or what, who will be greater than? So will there be only one single student more than that age? No. So here what will you use then? What will be the return type? What will be the return type? Yes, list of students, not a single student. And then function. So find by, even we have given age, right? So if we see our, see, this repository is working on which entity? Student entity. So simply go to the student entity, and what have we given? We also have given age with small age, right? So what changes we had to make? Just make the age with capital H greater than, and then pass the base age over here. Okay, pass the base age over here. You can pass you can pass any variable over here. Okay? You can pass any variable. Import the list from util. Okay, then now you go to the controller. Okay, and now we'll do a get mapping. Okay. This is also way 1A. Okay, this also is 1 1. Okay. I'm not going to way 2. Yes, the second variation of way 1. So 1 1, find by 1 1 only, and here we are passing a age. So I pass over here a, and here I take integer. Okay, whatever you want to take variable you can take over here. So that is, doesn't mean that here also you should give age. If you give, it looks professional. If you give here, that would look more professional instead of A and B. So you can, but there is no compulsion. Okay, so from the stored service you will call which function? Okay, but these are looking very childish. This DB waiver, no, this is looking very childish. So give proper names. uh, get employees, yeah, students, right? Get students greater, above age, above particular age. Okay, so you should make it self-explanatory, your endpoints. As it is, you have to just copy and paste it in the post file. So, and now here also you can make this method also in the service, and then pass the age to it. Now this method is there? No, we'll create it. So this will not return a student. This will not return a student. What will this return? This will not return a student. It will return a what? List of students. Okay, so make the changes over there. Change method return type to list of, yeah. So okay, list of students, and then from here what do I call? Simple, and method is created over there, right? Return student report dot find by age greater than, and this age value will come from here. Okay, so now do a rerun, and let's pass age as 25. Okay, so let's create an endpoint for that first. Copy this, create one more new API. Okay. Pass on this. What was the endpoint we had created? Get student of particular age. Just have to copy and paste it, so it doesn't make the more readable your endpoints are, better. Get student above particular age, and it's a get API send. So before doing a send, pass the parameter, and your first parameter is what? Age. What? Age and 25. So this should return me all the students who are more than 25 age. Here you go, Gomes and Ian. If I say 20, they should return me all the students who are more than 20 years old. So it has given me Charles also, Gomes also, Henry also, Ian also. Okay, so this was the first way in which you can execute your database. Now let's come to the second way. Second way is you can write your own custom queries. Second way is you can write your own native or custom queries. What do you call them as? You can write your own SQL queries. Okay, they're called as native queries. So those who are good at SQL and who have, so once they understand the use case, they know what SQL query will fire in the background. So they can write their own SQL queries in the repository. Okay, so if I want to comment this, okay, if I comment this, and this same task if I want to perform with the help of a SQL query, okay, so if I go to the repository, and I comment this, but now I want to find this, do the same task with the help of a SQL query. So how will you, what is the SQL query you will fire for this? Yes, tell me. Yes, what is the SQL query you will fire for this task? So you annotate it with as query, and now give the, so value will be the query. So tell me what is the SQL query for this task? Yes, anyone?
Select star from student where age is greater than.
Where age is greater than, and then give a question mark, because this is a placeholder, right?
Yes.
Okay, and how many arguments will this function accept? This will be there below. So now this function will work on our native query. So now what I'll do is I'll put this query over that function. Okay, so function name, and you can name, now the function name not, it did not follow this criteria. Okay, now you can change whatever name you want to give. Find by certain age. Okay, now this need not, so why am I fidgeting around with this? Why not make a new function? Okay, so this was only the case when we were using the JPA repository function. Now for the native queries, you can make your own function. Okay, whatever name you want to give. Certain age, find by certain, above certain age, and now that is the X you're passing over here. Now you will pass the query to this function. Sorry, so how will we pass it? At the rate, just tell me. Query, and value will be the query which we know. What is the query? To find employees above particular age, select star from the table where age is greater than the first argument, right? So you can say question mark, and the first argument of the method. So if we had two arguments over here, integer x and integer y, and I want to check greater than y, then I'll pass what? The second argument of the method. But now we have this method has only one argument. So okay, and this is your native query, correct? So you can say native query equals to true. So you can say native query equals to true. So first that admin import the query, then only it will read it. Okay, so import from JPA repository. So once this is imported, then now it will understand the other parameters. Native query. So what native query you want it to be true. So say it's a boolean value, right? So it says native query equals to. Now I can just call this function instead of calling this function from my service. Now I can call this function. They both will do the same task. So just make the changes. This is called plug and play. This is called plug and play. You know, in the classroom when we had one socket, if I was charging my laptop, I would plug my charger. Then once my laptop would be charged and a student wanted to charge her laptop, then she would remove my charger and plug her charger. So this is called plug and play. So I now remove this from the service and plug this. The rest control remains the same, right? So where is my service? So now for this task of finding employee above certain age, I don't want to use the inbuilt method. Okay, so I'll, we can keep this also and comment it rather, so that you all can anytime plug and play. But now I will use which method? As you do a dot, it will show you find what employee certain age. What is the function name? What was the function name? Find by above certain age. Oh, find by above certain age. Makes sense? And that will return me a list of students. This also is returning me a list of students here. Okay, and the chain will go on. So we can use the same endpoint now. Okay, we can use the same endpoint also because the controller has not changed, correct? This was your second way of executing your query. So if you are good at SQL, you can use this technique. But when JPA has given you all the ready-made functionalities, why not make use of it? Application has started, and then you can come here, and endpoint remains the same, right? So if I do a send, should return me the same records. What happened over here? Some internal server error. What was the server error which we are having? SQL table student does not exist. Okay, it was stood, right? What is the table name? Database table name is what? What is the table name? Stood, right? That's why it is telling that it is not existing. So you should have changed this to stood. Perfect. So try to read the errors, guys, and try to read the error till the entire end. Maybe the last 2-3 keywords will give you a hint. Okay, so never be intimidated or afraid by seeing the errors. Try to tackle them, read them thoroughly and try to tackle them. Okay, got it? Same records are being collected. Now if I change it to 25, I should have only these two records. Here you get enn goes. This is the second way of executing the, okay. And now the third way is by using a JDBC template. Okay, what we can use is a JDBC template. So JDBC template is a wrapper, it's a wrapper over your database. With the help of that, directly you can execute the query. So directly you can execute the query from the service also. Directly you can execute the query from the service. Okay, so if you don't want to go here, directly with the help of the service, so what you can do is prepare a query over here. Prepare your query over here. Okay. So let me take this and let me prepare my query like we would normally do in a JDBC, right? So we are well versed with this technique, nothing new to us, just the query we want, huh? Not nothing else. Just the query. Okay, so you can give where age greater than what, like your JD prepared statement, question mark. Okay, this is your query, and now with the help of a JDBC template we can execute this query. Okay, this is a query, and now we can use a JDBC template. So let me first declare a JDBC template. So let's say we have JDBC template. Okay, and I make object of that. So normally the professional developers know, they will make object just with the same name. The first letter they will make it small. Okay, so just by looking at it you can understand which is the class, which is the object. How to wire this. Okay, so okay, this I have written in a function. This I should write in, not in the, this will won't come in the function, right? Auto wiring you will do at the top. So here, so I just auto wire an object of the JDBC template, and with the help of this JDBC template, okay. And what have we written? List of students, right? We are returning a list of students. So I will say this class dot JDBC template, okay, dot update. So okay, so if it's a, so there are many methods of this, okay, and which query you are executing, query, and now you have one question mark. Now the order of those question mark over here. So what variable you want to pass as an argument? Okay. What happened? Int. Okay, this will return an integer. Okay, we don't want to. Okay, so this method will have a different return type for this update function. Okay, so let's check the method which will return us the records. Okay, so we had no an execute update execute query in JDBC. So that JDBC method which will return, okay, so can use the query get class query. Maybe we can use the query method and pass this as an argument, the query and the no. Let me check the function which will return us the object, because now we have to use a mapper. Okay, now we have to use a mapper. Okay, see, if I take a simple method, if I just take a simple method, let's take delete the employee whose age I am passing over here. Okay, so if I take a simple method, delete that employee whose age I am passing. So what will be the query? Delete from stud where age equals to question mark. And now, as this is not a SQL, not a select query, I can use update, and then which is the age should go. This should help. Okay, take it from student where. Okay, so this will just delete the record. Okay, this will just delete. How many records will it delete? It will tell you that. So how many records will be deleted? So if I pass age as 25, it will delete how many records of 25 that will be returned. Okay, so instead of fidgeting this, we would have made a new function only. Instead of changing all this, we could have made a new function. So just not disturb this function. We could have taken this, remove this. Any other techniques would have worked for this. Okay, this is the close of that function. Let's make a new function in our service, public int. Okay, and we can say delete by, this is my customized method. Okay, so there's a class window, this delete by age, so we can pass this and now we can call the delete by age function. So from the controller we can do a delete mapping, delete student by age. Okay, so we can follow the same method name that will return you an integer. So we can return a string. That method will give us an integer. We can return a string. Okay, I'm going to take age, and then which function of the stored service do we have to call? What function of the stored service do we have to call? The stored service function which we will be calling is what? Delete by age, and that will return me an integer. Okay, and I will then check if n is greater than 0. I will return, I'm promising what I'm telling is I'll return a string. So I'll say record delete. Okay, I can say n records deleted. else if I don't get any record, I will say else return no records deleted. Yeah. So from the controller I'm calling the delete by age function. Delete by age function taking the integer and deleting the with the help of a JDBC template. It is not even going to the repository. So my JDBC template is now acting as my DAO layer, data access layer. So it is a wrapper for which we can execute our database queries. So let's save this. Let's run this. Let's make a delete mapping. Okay. So we have this. I'll make a new one.
So
I'm doing a delete mapping. What is the endpoint that we are making? Endpoint which we have is delete student by age. Delete student by age. And that should also be the name. JDBC template using. Okay. Save to a run. And now here I say age and I give a particular value. Let's say I want to delete Ian. So it will delete one record. So I will pass 27. So it should tell me one record deleted. Okay, see one record deleted. And now if I do a refresh over here, that record is deleted. Now if I pass 23, should delete Charles and Henry. So if I pass 23 and do a send, says two records deleted. And if I do a refresh over here, here it goes. Okay, so today we've studied all the three techniques of interacting with a database. The third technique was using JDBC template.